Hello, today we are doing section 12.2, which is about circles with conic sections. So as a reminder from prior classes that you've taken, a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are a fixed distance, so an equal distance r, which stands for the radius of the circle, from a given point, which would be the center of the circle. So we're talking about all the points that are a fixed distance from that center point. So down below here, you can see where we have a picture of what the graph would look like. As a reminder, our center point, we use the letters HK, H for the X coordinate and K for the Y coordinate of the center. And then we have our radius, which is our distance from the center to the outside of the circle. And then we have a point on the circle, which is X and Y. So again, another reminder from a previous course, when we write the equation of a circle, which is what we're going to base everything on today, it looks like this. So it starts with x minus h squared. So again, x is our point on the circle, or the x coordinate of our point on the circle. H is the x coordinate of our center of our circle. And then we add to that y minus the k value squared. So again, y from our point on the circle minus k, which is our center squared, and that is going to equal the radius squared. So we are going to use that equation today as we go through and look at some writing equations and then graphing equations as well. So we're going to use that formula, that equation in standard form of a circle a lot. So let's practice a little bit with that. So we look at example 1 here. It's asking us to find the equation of a circle given the center and the radius. So in this situation, our center is negative 8, 15. So negative 8 would be our h value. And then the k value would be 15. And then we have our radius, they're giving it to us, of 4. So that would be our r value. So we just take all of those and plug them in to our equation where they belong. So we would start with x. X can represent any point on the circle, minus the h, which in this case is negative 8. And then we square that quantity, plus y minus the k value, which is 15 for our center, squared. And that's going to equal the radius squared. So we just plug everything into its place. And then we simplify if we can. So in this case, I can simplify minus a negative 8 to plus 8. And then I can simplify at the end the 4 squared to 16. So that would be my equation of this circle with center at negative 8, 15 and a radius of 4 in standard form. All right, let's look at the next one. So on this one, we have a center at 11, which is our h value. And then our k value would be negative 3. And this time my radius, or my r, is the square root of 15. So let's use that to write our equation. So filling in the equation, we have x minus the x value of the center, which is 11 squared, plus y minus the k value, so that would be minus a negative 3 squared. And that equals the square root of 15, our radius, squared. So again, simplifying what I can here, x minus 11 stays. We simplify minus a negative to plus. And then when I square root, or when I take the square root of 15 and I square it, those two are inverse operations, so I would be left with just 15. So the radius squared would be just 15. So that would be my equation in standard form. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but this time instead of just telling us what the center and the radius are, we have to find them from the graph. So we're going to start the same way. We're going to identify what h is, what k is, and what r is. So in this case, the center of my circle here is at 0, negative 2. So that would be the center of my circle. So I'm going to use that to kind of help me here. So that means that the h, or the x value of the center, is 0. The k value, which is the y value of the center, is negative 2. When I find that distance between a point on the outside and the center, I can see that that radius is 4. So now I've got the same key things that I had from up above. I'm going to plug them into my formula. I'm going to do x minus 0 squared plus y minus negative 2 squared equals 4 squared. Simplifying that, x minus 0 is just x squared plus y plus 2 squared, and that's going to equal 16 when I square the radius. So that would be my standard form equation for this circle. And again, that's kind of a special case where we just have the x squared. That just means that the center is at 0. Same thing for this next one. So in this next problem, I can see that my center is at 2, negative 1. So for my key points here, h, or the x value of my center, is at 2. K, or the y value of my center, is at negative 1. And my radius, when I measure it out from the center to the outside of the circle, is 5. So using those, plugging them into my equation, I'd have x minus 2 squared plus y minus negative 1 squared, and that would equal 5 squared. Simplifying that, I would have x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared, and that would equal 25, since 5 squared is 20. So now we've looked at writing the equations in a couple different ways. We're going to do one more set of examples with those here. So same thing, except this time, instead of giving me the center and the radius, they're telling me a point that's on the outside of the circle. So we are going to have to figure out how far apart those are. And what I notice as I look at those 2 points that they gave me is that the center and the point on the circle have the same x value. So if I think about a quick sketch of a graph, if they're both at negative 7, one's down here at negative 4, and one's further down at negative 15, but since they have the same x value, they're lined up. So I really just have to figure out how far apart negative 4 and negative 15 are to find my radius. So let's go through that same process. We know that our center is at h equals negative 7, and k equals negative 4. And then, like we were talking about, to find our radius, we're really just finding that distance between negative 15 and 4. So I'm going to do 15 minus 4 to figure out that distance and get a radius of 11. So now I have all my key parts again, and I can write my equation. So my equation would go x minus negative 7 squared plus y minus negative 4 squared, and that would equal 11 squared. So simplifying that, we'd have x plus 7 squared, y plus 4 squared, and then 11 squared is 121. All right, so then on this next one, they give us our center again. So I know that the h is negative 2, and I know the k is 7. But this time, when I look at my point that they gave me, it doesn't line up with the center at all. So when I have 2 points that aren't vertical or horizontal from each other, and I have to figure out how far apart they are to find my radius, I'm going to have to do the Pythagorean theorem. So I am going to set up my radius, or my Pythagorean theorem, by saying it's the square root of the distance between my x's, so 1 minus negative 2 squared, plus the distance between my y's squared, so that would be 12 minus 7 squared. So when I simplify that, that would be 3 squared, which is 9, plus 5 squared, which is 25, and so that would be the square root of 34 for my radius. So now I have all the key parts I need. I'm going to plug them into my formula. So x minus negative 2 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals the square root of 34 squared. Simplifying that, I have x plus 2 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 134. Again, when I square a square root, those are inverse operation of each other, so we're left with just what's in the inside. Sorry, that should be just 34. All right, so now we kind of understand where the equation's coming from. Now we're going to use that equation to graph. All right, so in this situation, again, we're looking for those same key pieces of information, but now they're in an equation. So I know that h is the x-coordinate. So when I look at my x's here, there's nothing attached to it. So that means that the h is 0. Then when I look at k, I know that's what's plugged in here. So remember that it's y minus the k value. So since I see a plus there, I know that the k value must be -2 because it must be y minus -2. And then for my radius, I know that it's this number squared. So remember the formula is r squared. So that means 4 is r squared, which means when I square root 4, I get a radius of 2. So I've got all my key points there. It wants me to write the center as an ordered pair here. So I know my center is at 0, comma, -2. And then I use that to graph. So I can graph my center and then use the radius to go 2 away from that. So it would look like this. Center at 0, -2. And then I can go 2 in each direction because that's the radius and use that to create my circle. All right, let's do one last example here. So again, going through my key points, since this is -2, I know that h is 2. My k would be 1 from the equation. And then again, my radius, remember this is r squared, so it would be the square root of 25, which is 5. And then again, it wants us to write where the center actually is. So in this case, it would be at 2, 1. So I would plot 2, 1, go 5 in each direction, and it would give me a circle that looks like this. So those are the key points on graphing a conic section that's a circle and writing its equation. See you next time.